Welcome to Cyber Explain channel. Today we are going to discuss Okta versus Auth0, navigating cloud identity for workforce and customers. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are tackling two of the biggest names in the cloud identity game, Okta and Auth0. You've probably heard of them, maybe even used their services. They're not just abstract platforms, they're the invisible guardians of our digital lives, handling everything from logging into your work apps to signing up for that new social platform. We are going to cut through the marketing fluff and really get into the nuts and bolts of what makes them tick, their architectural underpinnings, and where they fit in the grand scheme of things. Let's unpack how they manage both your work identity and your customer identity seamlessly. First up, Okta. Think of Okta as the go-to for an organization's internal IT needs. When you start a new job, it's often Okta that manages your access to all your work applications, your email, your CRM, your HR portal, you name it. They excel at single sign-on, SSO, for employees, meaning you log in once and get access to everything you need without re-entering credentials. This significantly reduces password fatigue and the associated security risks. Their architecture is built for enterprise scale, integrating with thousands of pre-built applications. Now, Auth0. While Okta has expanded its customer identity capabilities, Auth0 really started with a laser focus on customer-facing applications. If you are building a web or mobile app and need users to sign up, log in, and manage their profiles, Auth0 is a super common choice. They provide a developer-friendly platform with robust APIs, making it easier for developers to embed secure authentication and authorization directly into their products. It's all about the end-user experience for your customers. At their heart, both Okta and Auth0 are built around two crucial pillars: single sign-on, SSO, and robust authentication. SSO, as we touched on, is about that one login to rule them all experience. But it's not just about convenience, it centralizes authentication, making it easier to manage and monitor. Where they really shine is adaptive multi-factor authentication, MFA. This isn't just a static enter a code. It's intelligent. The system learns about your login behavior and can prompt for additional verification steps like MFA only when it detects unusual activity, like logging in from a new device or location. This balances security with user experience. Beyond just logging in, these platforms manage the entire lifecycle of an identity. Think about it: when someone joins your company, they need accounts created. When they change roles, their permissions need to be updated. And when they leave, all access must be revoked promptly. Both Okta and Auth0 offer tools to automate these processes, connecting to HR systems like Workday or SAP to trigger these events. This is critical for security. Leaving dormant accounts open is a huge risk. This automation is a lifesaver for IT teams, reducing manual effort and potential errors. This is where Auth0 really shines, especially for custom applications. They provide a comprehensive set of APIs and SDKs that allow developers to integrate authentication, authorization, and user management directly into their applications with relative ease. You can customize the login flows, build your own user profiles, and manage permissions programmatically. Okta also offers APIs, but Auth0's reputation here is particularly strong, making it a favorite for SaaS builders who need flexibility and rapid development. Let's paint a picture. Imagine a fast-growing SaaS startup that picked Auth0 for their customer logins. Initially, it's perfect. The developer experience is top-notch, onboarding is quick, and their users love the smooth sign-up. As the startup's user base explodes into the millions, they start getting hit with the permanently active user (MAU) pricing. Suddenly, that cost that seemed manageable at 10,000 users becomes a significant line item at 5 million MAUs. This isn't a flaw in Auth0 itself, but a consequence of its pricing model at massive scale, which is a common edge case many growing companies encounter. It forces a re-evaluation of cost-effectiveness. One of the biggest strengths of both Okta and Auth0 is their vast ecosystem of pre-built integrations. Think of it like a massive app store for identity. Need to connect to Salesforce, Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, Zoom, Slack, and a dozen other services? Chances are, they have a connector or an easy setup process for it. This significantly reduces the time and complexity of integrating these tools into your identity management strategy. For organizations, this means quicker deployment and less custom development work for common enterprise applications. From an administrator's perspective, these platforms aim to simplify complex identity tasks. Their UIs are generally intuitive, allowing IT teams to manage users, applications, and policies without deep technical expertise in every single area. While advanced configuration still requires skill, the day-to-day management of user access, password resets, and MFA policies is made much more accessible. This ease of use is a major factor in their widespread adoption. Now, let's talk about a common concern with any specialized cloud service, vendor locking. Because these platforms integrate so deeply into an organization's IT infrastructure and customer-facing applications, switching providers can be a monumental undertaking. Migrating millions of user profiles, all the associated policies, and reconnecting all those applications is a massive project. This is a strategic consideration you need to weigh from the outset. The more you customize and integrate, the harder it becomes to leave. We touched on this with the startup example, but it's worth reiterating. The permanently active user (MAU) pricing model, common in customer identity platforms like Auth0 and increasingly a factor in Okta's offerings, can become very expensive as your user base grows significantly. While it aligns costs with usage for smaller operations, for massive consumer-facing applications, it can lead to unpredictable and substantial expenses. This is a key architectural and financial consideration for any business planning to scale globally. Like any major cloud service, Okta and Auth0 have experienced outages, sometimes with significant impact. These events highlight the critical nature of identity services. When the identity provider goes down, access to everything can grind to a halt. While these platforms invest heavily in redundancy and uptime, it's a reminder that relying on a single vendor for such a critical function introduces a single point of failure, even with their best efforts. Designing for resilience means understanding these potential risks and having contingency plans. Okta's adaptive MFA isn't just a feature, it's a sophisticated system. It leverages risk-based policies. When a login request comes in, Okta analyzes a multitude of signals, location, device posture, time of day, user behavior patterns, and more. Based on these signals, it assigns a risk score. If the score is low, the user might get straight in. If it's high, it might trigger an MFA prompt or even block access. This dynamic approach is architected to protect sensitive resources while minimizing friction for legitimate users. Auth0's strength lies in its API-first design. They expose granular control over user management, authentication flows, and authorization rules. This means a developer can use Auth0's SDKs and APIs to build highly customized login experiences, integrate with their specific application logic, and manage user data in a way that perfectly fits their product. Think about implementing social logins, passwordless authentication, or even custom identity verification steps. Auth0 makes this significantly more straightforward than building it all from scratch. When the primary goal is to manage access for employees across a large, established organization, Okta is often the default. Its strength lies in its massive library of pre-built application integrations, its robust policy engine for enforcing corporate security standards, and its comprehensive lifecycle management features. For instance, an enterprise like a large bank or a multinational corporation would leverage Okta to ensure all employees have secure, compliant access to their internal systems, from their laptops to their cloud services. For a new software as a service, SaaS, product or a consumer-facing web application, Auth0 is frequently the go-to. The ability to quickly integrate user authentication, social logins, and manage user profiles with minimal development overhead is invaluable. Think of a new social media app, an online learning platform, or an e-commerce site. Auth0's SDKs and APIs allow developers to build these features rapidly, focusing on the core product rather than reinventing authentication mechanisms. If cost at scale is your absolute primary concern, and your user base is in the tens or hundreds of millions, you might need to explore alternatives. This could involve looking at cloud provider native IAM solutions like AWS Cognito, Azure AD B2C, if you are heavily invested in their ecosystem, or even considering building more of your authentication logic in-house for very specific, high-volume scenarios. It's a trade-off between the convenience and features of a managed service and the potential cost savings of a more tailored approach. While Auth0 offers great customization, there are edge cases where an organization might have unique, highly complex authorization requirements that go beyond what standard IAM platforms easily support. This might involve very intricate business logic for access decisions, or deep integration with legacy systems that don't play well with modern protocols. In such scenarios, a custom-built solution or a more flexible identity framework might be necessary, though this comes with significant development and maintenance overhead. Both Okta and Auth0 heavily leverage standard protocols. SAML, Security Assertion Markup Language, is key for enterprise SSO, allowing identity providers, like Okta, to pass authentication and authorization data to service providers, your applications. OAuth 2.0, on the other hand, is crucial for delegated authorization, especially in customer-facing apps, allowing applications to access user resources without handling credentials directly. Think of OAuth as the mechanism that lets your new photo editing app access your Google Photos without asking for your Google password. Closely related to OAuth 2.0, OpenID Connect, OIDC, adds an identity layer on top. While OAuth is about authorization, can this app access my photos? OIDC is about authentication. Who is this user? It allows clients to verify the identity of the end user based on the authentication performed by an authorization server and to obtain basic profile information about the end user. This is what powers most sign-in with Google or sign-in with Facebook buttons you see on websites. Even with advanced MFA, these platforms aren't immune to common attacks. Credential stuffing, where attackers use lists of leaked usernames and passwords from other breaches, is a constant threat. If a user reuses passwords, this can bypass even basic MFA if not implemented smartly. Phishing remains a significant vector. Attackers trick users into revealing their credentials or MFA codes. While Okta and Auth0 provide tools to detect suspicious login patterns, user education and robust phishing defenses are still paramount. Account takeover, ATO, is a major concern. This can happen through various means: successful phishing, exploiting vulnerabilities in the application itself, or sometimes even compromising the identity provider itself, though less common. Once an attacker gains control of an account, they can exploit it for fraud, data theft, or further network intrusion. The adaptive part of MFA is key here. It's designed to detect the anomalies indicative of an ATO before it causes significant damage. Don't forget about insider threats, malicious or accidental. A disgruntled employee with privileged access can cause significant damage. This is where the principle of least privilege, strict access reviews, and robust logging become critical. Both Okta and Auth0 help enforce these principles through role-based access control and detailed audit trails. Monitoring for unusual access patterns from internal users is just as important as monitoring external threats. Both platforms employ sophisticated anomaly detection. They analyze login patterns, geographic locations, device fingerprints, and typical user behavior. If a login deviates significantly from established patterns, for example, logging in from two vastly different locations within minutes, or accessing resources never before touched, the system flags it. This forms the basis for triggering adaptive MFA or alerting security teams. It's like having a vigilant bouncer who recognizes regulars and questions strangers. The audit logs are goldmines for detection and forensics. Every login attempt, MFA challenge, policy change, and administrative action is recorded. Security teams can sift through these logs to investigate incidents, verify compliance, and identify patterns that might indicate an ongoing attack. The ability to export and integrate these logs with CM, security information and event management systems is crucial for comprehensive monitoring and threat hunting. Think of it as a detailed security camera recording of all digital comings and goings. The most catastrophic failure mode is the compromise of the identity provider itself. If an attacker can gain administrative control over Okta or Auth0, they can essentially grant themselves access to everything in your environment, reset passwords at will, and disable all security controls. This is why rigorous security controls around the identity provider's own administration accounts, including highly restricted access and MFA for admins, are absolutely critical. It's the digital equivalent of the keys to the kingdom being stolen. Another common failure mode is misconfiguration. Setting up MFA policies incorrectly, granting overly broad roles, or mismanaging application integrations can inadvertently create security gaps. For example, an admin might accidentally disable MFA for a critical application, or grant a user a role that includes administrator privileges they don't need. These errors, while not a breach of the platform itself, can lead to significant vulnerabilities. Regular audits and a change management process for policy updates are essential mitigations. When using the extensive APIs and pre-built integrations, a failure mode can arise from insecure integrations or API abuse. If an application's API keys are leaked or poorly secured, an attacker could potentially use them to provision or deprovision users maliciously. Similarly, if an integration itself has a vulnerability, it could be exploited to bypass IAM controls. This is why careful vetting of third-party applications and secure management of API credentials are vital. This is non-negotiable. Both platforms support role-based access control, RBAC, which is the foundation for the principle of least privilege. Users should only have the permissions they absolutely need to do their job, and no more. This means carefully defining roles, assigning users to the correct roles, and regularly reviewing those assignments. For example, a customer support agent shouldn't have administrator access to billing systems. This principle is your first line of defense against both insider threats and compromised accounts. Having clear, well-documented policies for identity lifecycle management, access requests, and approvals is crucial. This includes defining who is authorized to approve what, how often access should be reviewed, and what constitutes a security incident. Okta and Auth0 provide the tools, but the underlying governance and policies dictate how those tools are used effectively and securely. This is where the strategy behind IAM really matters. As we've seen, logs are invaluable. Continuously monitoring these logs, often by feeding them into a CM, allows for real-time detection of anomalies and suspicious activities. Regular audits of access controls, policies, and administrative actions are essential to catch misconfigurations or policy violations before they can be exploited. This is a proactive approach to security, ensuring that your IAM implementation remains robust over time. No matter how sophisticated the technology, user behavior remains a critical factor. Educating users about phishing, the importance of strong, unique passwords, and how to respond to MFA prompts is vital. A well-trained user is your best defense against social engineering attacks. Both Okta and Auth0 offer resources and features that can integrate with training programs, but the ultimate responsibility lies with continuous user education. So, to wrap up, if your primary need is robust, enterprise-grade workforce identity management with extensive integrations for internal applications, and you are willing to invest in a comprehensive solution, Okta is a very strong contender. If you are building a new SaaS product, a mobile app, or need a highly flexible, developer-centric way to manage customer identities with custom flows, Auth0 often has the edge. However, remember the cost implications at scale and the potential for vendor lock-in for both. Interestingly, in larger organizations, it's not always an either-or. Some companies might use Okta for their internal workforce identity and then leverage Auth0 or a similar CIEM solution for their external customer-facing applications. This allows them to use best-of-breed solutions for each distinct use case. Managing this hybrid approach requires careful architectural planning to ensure seamlessness and security across both domains. This is where understanding the underlying protocols and integration points becomes critical. When you are evaluating these platforms, think beyond just features. Consider your organization's scale, your primary use case, workforce versus customer, your development team's expertise, your budget, and your long-term strategic goals. Understand the pricing models thoroughly, especially as you project growth. And always have a plan for how you would migrate if absolutely necessary. It's about building a secure, scalable, and manageable identity strategy, not just picking a tool. Okta and Auth0 are pioneers, and they've fundamentally shaped how we think about and manage digital identity. The landscape is always evolving, with new threats and technologies emerging. Understanding the architectural strengths, protocol underpinnings, and common pitfalls of these giants gives you a solid foundation for making informed decisions for your organization. Keep learning, stay vigilant, and thanks for joining me today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the CyberExplain channel. See you on the next video.